and welcome back to my channel. And today, gotta change up this background, man. It's not spooky enough. Orange is spooky. Today we are ranking the Conjuring movies. If you guys don't know how my rankings work, I like to do it by my least favorite to my most favorite. So I'm not saying number one is the most well-made, well-rounded film. I do it by which ones impacted me the most and which one did I have the best response to. Now, for this list, number one is probably the best and number five is probably the worst. But since it's an opinion, you guys may not agree with me. So what I want you guys to do is comment your thoughts down below. Which Conjuring movie do you like? Which Conjuring movies do you hate? There are 5 in total, and our brand new one just came out called The Nun. Where is it going to rank on this list? I don't know. And if you guys didn't see, I just reviewed The Nun and 2 brand new Netflix movies, but right now we are doing a countdown. Stay tuned to the end of the video for another comment spotlight, and we shall start at number 5. And at the number 5 spot is a movie that I wasn't really crazy about when I first watched it, and the more that I thought about it, the more I didn't like it. I've only seen it one time. Some people have told me, Austin, the first Annabelle, it gets better the more you watch it, but I didn't like it the first time I watched it at all, so I didn't want to go back and watch it again. This is just the perfect example of a cliched horror movie that we have seen multiple times before. They don't really do anything innovative or new or something that got me on board, and especially since this was the first spin-off after The Conjuring, I thought for sure they would put more effort into it. It felt lazy, the characters are not memorable, and sure, there are some jump scares in there, as there are in every horror film. They just felt like jump scares that we have seen before. They put no thought into the creativity of the first Annabelle. They took the creepiest factor of the first Conjuring movie, and in my opinion, they kind of botched it. And at number 4 is the brand new entry on this list, the movie that just came out, and that is The Nun. I was very disappointed in The Nun. Now, is it as bad as the first Annabelle? In my opinion, no. But is it as good as the first Conjuring? Heck no. And I don't even think it's as good as the sequel to Annabelle, and that's because there are elements in The Nun that work. The characters were really good, but some of the plot points were just so lame. There were elements of the story that really did not work for me, and there were even some things that slipped underneath my nose, and that's probably because I wasn't paying attention, because I was just so checked out of the movie at points. It really did bore me, and that's one thing I expected The Nun not to do. I expected to go in and at least be kind of thrilled the entire time, at least throw in those jump scares nonstop to get me on board and continue to keep me on board with your movie. The Nun just really couldn't keep my interest, and that's so disappointing coming from this universe. Was The Nun scary looking? Yes. Were there some effective jump scares? Of course, but that's really all there was in this movie. That and Vera Farmiga's sister, she was really good. And now we finally come to the first movie on this list that I actually kind of like. Now, I don't think I like this movie as much as other people that I know, because some people are huge fans of Annabelle Creation. I thought Annabelle Creation was good. It's not as memorable as I would like it to be, and it still holds those cliched elements from the first movie. It really didn't get rid of those, even though it brought on some new elements that I really liked. I loved the little girl in this movie. I thought she was fantastic. The cast is so much better than the cast of the first movie. I did not like the cast of the first movie. And I think the story is a lot more interesting to it. It felt like James Wan actually had a hand in this film. I really like the director. I like the movies he did before, so I was really looking forward to Creation. I think he knocked it out of the park in terms of directing. In terms of innovation and creativity, I don't think they did. There are definitely elements in here that could have and should have been stronger. But they at least redeemed the first movie and made me interested to see another Annabelle film, which they'll probably churn out eventually. And now we come to number 2. So which Conjuring movie did I like more? Did I like 1 or 2? Well, at number 2 is Conjuring 2, and this is a film that I have actually only watched one time. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I've went back and watched it in preparation for this review. No, I watched it in the theater, and that's it. Now, I remember really enjoying this movie when I saw it in the theater. There were parts that were boring, long, extended. I remember thinking that it could have been a little bit shorter, and it wasn't as strong of a story as the first Conjuring. But what James Wan does with these movies, he brings his flair, and you know James Wan when you see James Wan, the camera movements and the way that he tells his stories, and even the jump scares. Now, like I said, I don't like jump scares because most of the time they are cheap. But what he does is he builds tension within his shots. He keeps you waiting for what's going to happen next. If you watch the Honest trailer on Screen Junkies, you know what I'm talking about. But I find things like that really effective in a horror film, and with the Conjuring sequel, it really worked because they gave you what you liked from the first movie, but they took it in a slightly different direction and introduced many more characters that are memorable and so many more characters that are going to have spin-offs in the future, and one that just had a spin-off that came this weekend. And I love following the Warrens. Every family that they go to, I really enjoy those guys, but the Warrens are really what keeps me coming back to The Conjuring. I think these two cast members are perfect. Their relationship with each other is great, and I'm salivating at this point for another Conjuring movie because the spin-offs, they're not working for me. And the reason that I want another Conjuring movie is because the first Conjuring is #1 on my list. And let's take a second just to talk about this film because I absolutely love the first Conjuring. It's in my top, I believe my top 30 or 40 movies of all time. It is my favorite horror film of all time just because of the experience that I had in the theater for the first time, the things that I felt about this film, the tension that was built, the characters within the story. For some reason, I related to the family, I related to the kids, I related to the Warrens. I love their relationship. I love what they believe in. I love what they stand for, even though some of the things are completely creepy, especially when you look at what happened behind the scenes, because that's weird. I just think this is a horror film that really changed the game. It gave you memorable moments. It gave you jump scares. This is a movie that they have literally taken and made a franchise out of, even though it's not a film that you would think that they could make a franchise out of, but it was so special and so popular, so creative when it first came out. It really did. Like I said, it changed the game for horror films, big budget horror films, and studio horror films. It's not a super artsy A24 movie like Hereditary. It appealed to a mass audience, and it appealed to critics alike, and for a long time, this was my #1 favorite movie of 2013. Now, Prisoners has since passed it, but it's still my #2 favorite and one of my favorite movies of the decade. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. What is your opinion of the Conjuring universe, and what is your ranking of all 5 of the films, or all 4 of them if you haven't seen The Nun yet? Thank you guys so much for your comments. Today's comment spotlight comes to us from a longtime commenter in William Budd. I just like the honesty here. He says, great review, and he did like the movie a little bit more than me. He said he had a great time with it. That is awesome, William. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you guys for remaining honest. Even when your thoughts are different than mine, I can still find something in there to latch onto, and sometimes my opinion even changes. So don't ever not comment because you disagree with me, because that's what YouTube is all about. It's about sharing our opinions in a nice way. You guys are the absolute best, and finally, my question and answer video is complete. It is edited. It will be my next video on my channel. I will catch you guys later.